In this video, we're going to be taking a look at setting up replication and networking events for your game in Unreal Engine. Here, we're working with the standard, just the default third-person controller setup that Unreal Engine provides for us when we're creating a new project. If you go to these three dots here next to your play settings and look at the very bottom, you'll see an option to change the number of players. If you change this to number 2, it will play 2 clients at the same time. And if you go into your net mode options, there'll be a few options for you to play to choose. I'm going to select play as server because I want everyone to play as part of a server. Now when we hit play, we have 2 clients. First one can run around, jump, do all the same things that you normally could. But when you take a look at your second one, you can see that everything's being replicated. Does that mean we already have networking? Well, kind of yes, kind of no. The default stuff that comes with this project setup, it's already set up to have networking. There's various settings that you can go around and play with to adjust, and odds are anything you create, you're going to have to add your own replication and replicated events, RPCs, to your code. Here, I'm going to change it to be 2 separate windows like this. I'm not using the editor window, a little bit easier to see, and you can put them side by side, and it's going to make things a lot easier for the work process. But for the code, now, this is going to be a little bit different for when you're creating your own events, your own blueprints, your own characters. Automatically, all the transformation is already being applied to the networking that Unreal has built in. But any Unreal Engine or any functions you create in your blueprints, you're going to have to set up the replication yourself. That's what we're going to do here. We're going to open up the blueprint for that third-person controller, and we're going to create our own custom event. In this, we're basically going to say, when I press a button, I'm going to change the color of the character's body. To do this, I'm first going to search for the one key, the on one key keyboard event. And from here, I'm going to basically take the mesh component of this blueprint. I'm going to take that, and I can see there's 2 materials on it. There's the one material for the head, the hands, and whatnot, and then there's the second material that handles the body and a couple of the other parts. I'm going to drag the on pressed to into this set material node, and I'm going to change the second one because I want to change the body, not the head. I'm going to change it to something, I don't know, I have this orange material here, and that should work well enough. I'm going to save that, compile, and go back into Unreal Engine, hit play, and once everything's loaded up, I'm going to press 1. And you can see my body has changed to that orange material. Great. But on the second client, there's nothing. I'm still gray. If I press 1 on the second client, the second client's body turns orange, but it remains gray on the first client. Because we haven't set up any replication yet. In order to begin setting up replication, you need to create custom events. And these are going to be your RPCs. Here, I'm just going to call it RPC material swap or material replace, anything you really want it to be. And up in the details panel, there's the option to change replication. If you don't see it, just search for replication. And I'm going to set it to replicate on server or run on server. What this does is now whenever I call any events for that, whenever I call that custom event, I'm going to call that on the server. Now I'm going to replace the connections here. When I press 1, I'm going to call that custom event, and that custom event is going to call the set material for that mesh. Now when we go back, we're going to be able to change the material on the server, which sounds great, right? Well, first client presses orange, great. But there's still nothing on the second client. What happens when we press 1 on the second client? Well, it turns orange, but only on the server, not on the client. This means any client connected to the server, they're not getting anything. The server is going to see all these changes, but the server's not sending anything back to the clients. For that, we need to create a third function, a third custom event, and this one is going to be exact same way. We're going to set it up, a custom event. I'm going to call it RPC, but this one is going to be for all of our clients. It'll have the same name, and then I'm just going to replace the old name to this one being specifically RPC server replace material, or so I can differentiate between them. This one I'll connect into the set material, but when I change the replication, I'm going to replicate as multicast. Multicast means it's going to send this information out to all the clients that are connected to this server. Then, when I call the server RPC, I'm going to use the server RPC to call the multicast, or the one that's replicated on all. And then, now when we hit play, I press 1 on the first client, it shows up orange on both. I press 1 on the second client, it shows up orange on both. Means that all our events, anything we do, is getting sent to the server first, and then it's getting sent to everyone from the server. Now, as a bonus, what happens if we swap these around? What if we do the calling on everyone before we do the calling on the server? Well, let's try it out. When I press 1, I'm going to call the multicast one, and then that's it. If I'm just calling the multicast, I'm like, you would think you're sending it to everyone, right? So it works great on the server. I press 1, it shows up on the second. But when I press 1 on the second, it doesn't send to the server. This is very important. We need to have both working hand in hand to make everything work properly. But that is pretty much all it takes to set up your own networked event calls, or your RPCs. Replication in Unreal Engine is very easy, and I would encourage you to explore more on your own.